Hello, everyone. I am Charlotte Tweed, founder of Liberty Travel Coach, relocation strategist, and welcome to Free Thinkers Rising. And today I have with me Dave Huggett, who runs Lucid Foreign Exchange. Dave, thanks for being with us today, and tell us a little bit about yourself and Lucid Foreign Exchange.
It can be a bit of a tongue twister, that one. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me so much. It's really good to talk to you and further our conversations that we've been having. So Lucid Foreign Exchange. It was born out of my long career in the City of London. The City of London is the UK's equivalent to Wall Street, I suppose, where I spent a very long time working for a tier one broker. And my role there was to manage large corporate businesses foreign exchange exposure using structured products, options, derivatives, hedging strategies, essentially, which is a tough, gritty environment to work in, very fast paced, very long hours, all the stress and strains that come with that kind of environment. And around COVID time, I left that world to for one reason or another, and off the back of that transition, I started this business, and it was really out of something I noticed throughout my career. Prior to my time in the city, I was a real estate agent. I did that for like 9 years before going into FX. FX I've been in for now like 16 years. So I had a fairly long career in real estate and then moved into FX. During my time in the city, I was often asked about private clients, individuals that were moving significant amounts of money overseas from one currency to another, and could I help them? In that world, I couldn't because it wasn't my client. My client was large corporates and European businesses, so I didn't really have an opportunity to help them. When I left the city, I started Lucid to help corporates. So my business started as corporate clients here and some private clients, and now it's like private clients up here and corporate clients. I have a handful of that I still manage from my old days, but now my real focus is private individuals that are moving significant amounts of money across borders and that want help and understanding and guidance in doing that transaction from both a market entry point of view. Foreign exchange markets move all the time, and that affects the outcome of the transaction, but also to help people understand what is required from a compliance and regulatory point of view, which is often left till the last minute and often causes a significant amount of stress and strain to people. So I started Lucid to really has evolved into and to help people in that situation.
And what can all go wrong with an international transfer of that type of thing? And how do you mitigate those risks?
It's a great question because actually nothing can go wrong in terms of you can't lose money in this day and age. We have very robust payment rails, essentially ways of transacting internationally. So losing money isn't a thing anymore. But what is a thing is compliance restrictions and flags, requests for paperwork information, which the system and the industry does a very poor job of essentially front running. So let's say you have an individual who's moving a significant amount of money from the US to Europe. And that may be from an immigration point of view, from an investment point of view, whatever it may be. What typically happens is the focus is put on the reason that they are moving that money, but the mechanics of how to move the money comes very late in the day and is kind of treated like an afterthought of, I better move the money now. The problem is world compliance only gets more complicated and more requirement for paperwork, paper trail, reason for trade, source of wealth. Lots and lots of information is required to make sure that the transaction moves smoothly. The problem is the industry does it the wrong way. They wait till the transaction is executed and then ask for the information. What I try to help my clients do is understand everything they're going to require from a point of view of verification, identification, proof of address, all that kind of thing. And then more importantly, the reason for the transaction and to help them understand the paperwork that's required to verify it. So that when they trade and move the funds, it happens quickly and instantly rather than being held in some sort of compliance cadence or queue or whatever. Problem with the banking system these days is you sit on hold for an hour, you can speak to someone, you never speak to the same person twice. It can become a very stressful thing much quicker than it has to. It's not complicated, you just need to know where the pitfalls are.
So how is it different from Wise? I know a lot of people are very familiar with Wise. So what is the
For sure.
difference between you and Wise?
For sure. It's a great question. So the Wise is an app, right? So fintechs exist to make moving small amounts of money very straightforward, very simple, very transparent. So you can go to the Wise app. I use Wise, fantastic organization, love what they've done. But when the numbers get up into six and seven figures, the requirement, I think, for sort of manual management of things becomes much, much higher. Again, like a bit like the banking system, you don't typically have a point of contact with Wise. You're dealing with an app, a fintech on your phone, PC, whatever it may be. So if something gets flagged or stopped, it's very hard to communicate with them. And I think it's really using my sort of go-to analogy of you don't insure your house hoping it's going to burn down. You you could use Wise and it could be fine. And often it is. But when it's not, it's not. And a lot of clients come to me because they've tried to move 100, 200, 300,000 through Wise, and the compliance aspect of it makes it incredibly stressful because they can't talk to somebody. Essentially, what I do is I just provide a very, very, very high touch service, which means that people can communicate with me direct when they want, 7 days a week. Because when you move a significant amount of money or you send the money into the system, that's when the stress kind of starts to go up because you kind of want to know where it is. You want to know, has it all gone through right? If it's been stopped, why? I think when you use the app solution, that's the bit that I think in hindsight, people kind of go, I wish I hadn't used the app. The app's great if I'm moving a couple of thousand, maybe up to like 30 or 40,000, fine. But when it goes above, they don't do a great job because that's not what they're built for. It's like it's like any service. The bigger they get, the more efficient they get. You have to give up somewhere, and typically the give up is in the service and the contact, really.
Mhm. So what about buying property international? Now, I have friends here in Mexico who've gone through sort of what you say. They're buying a house and they're transferring their money from Canada to Mexico to
Mhm.
buy the house in Mexico. And it takes days for the money to move. And it's very, very stressful for them. I haven't been through
Mhm.
that situation yet. We haven't bought any property in Mexico. But how would that work? How would that look on your end if someone is purchasing property internationally?
I think that kind of answers the original question, which is when I help my clients set up the transaction, they don't face that delay because everything that would cause that delay, I've already helped them iron out prior to executing the transaction. Those delays come from two reasons. One, compliance. So a bank or a provider requiring information that they don't have in order to send the trade through or the money through. Or it can simply be that banks will use automated batch payment systems, which could be they just allow themselves 2 or 3 days to make the payment because, believe it or not, there's still a lot of manual into input within the banking system. People that are checking batch payments, that are running spreadsheets, etc. Bank systems are very often built on legacy data, legacy code. Essentially, is very out of date and can't keep up. So the kind of clunk, for want of a better word, is quite high. The reason I guess that I don't face that is because I might deal for six, maybe eight clients at a time. So I can manage their situation literally like by hand. So it's making sure that before somebody sends funds from their bank to their account on my side, I make certain that the paperwork is in place so that when they hit send or instruct that payment, that hold up doesn't exist. When the funds land on my side, I only use instant payment systems basically. So my compliance department already know everything they have everything that's required. So there's no friction. The funds just move. So typically the end to end of my transaction is minutes, if not, quicker. Like I remove anything that would cause the hold up in the first place, I guess.
Okay. And are there specific countries that you deal with, or do you just do you specialize in certain countries, or do you do any countries worldwide?
No, I think, I mean, I guess a lot of, I'd say half of my clients now are US or Canadian clients moving money out of the region. I can transact anywhere. So I don't, I guess not really. I have a lot of work in Europe because I live in Europe. Like I'm located in Europe. So I move around Europe physically a lot to meet with partners and introducers and things like that. So I guess by default, I get a lot of work that way from that region. But no, where as long as the currency can physically be transacted or traded, then I can trade it. There are anomalies, of course. There are restricted jurisdictions. There are currencies that you can't sell. There are currencies that you can't buy. There are currencies that are sanctioned. It's unusual. Um, it comes down to case by case. But again, banks and bigger brokers, etc., will take a blanket view on things that I may be able to support clients with because I have the agility to do that.
Now, there's something that probably Americans and Canadians may not be familiar with. It's CISI. Can you tell us what that is, that acronym is, and explain what that is and what that means?
For sure. So the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments is a body that I was affiliated under in my city days. So as a derivatives broker, I had to carry out many examinations, etc., to be able to advise and provide those services to my clients. I've carried on that membership into my just carried on throughout my career for credibility. It's a very credible. It's the main body in the UK. It's very highly regarded and recognised, and it works like the chartership of any industry, like accountancy or legal or whatever it may be. Most industries have a method of being chartered, and it's to identify it's to identify minimum standards as many charters do. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
It does, yes. Because I mean, when we're dealing with people's money, it's
Mhm.
a very important thing, and people are concerned and they're wondering, why should I trust you? What,
For sure.
what makes you credible?
Mm. I think and it's a question I love to answer because there's one very important thing that I like to highlight. Nobody sends me any money in my process. So the accounts that I create are in the name of my clients. That no funds ever come into my possession. I essentially create the facilities and I manage the facilities for my clients. I help them move that transaction from one currency to another, from one jurisdiction to another. But if you go right into the detail, no money touches me. I just help them move the money through the system. And that's unique in terms of most brokers, banks, obviously, you are physically sending them the money. But in the way that I'm set up, I don't take ownership of anyone's funds. I just help them move it through the system in a much more efficient, secure, yes, but security is very high in our payment systems anyway. But it's all about efficiency and information, helping people understand why the market's doing what it's doing, what the limitations are, what we need to know, what's important to understand, and also talking people back from the edge of speculation because foreign exchange markets move in and out of favor. And I then lean on all my experience of analytics and strategy and execution from dealing for large businesses. And I give my private clients the same information and guidance that I would give the CFO of a large corporate company. So I
Hmm.
help them to treat that transaction in the same way because people moving six figures and upwards internationally I believe, should have access to that level of experience and understanding and guidance. Unfortunately, the industry just isn't set up for that. Banks are very transactional, brokers are driven by targets and KPIs. I've tried to create a consultancy that allows people to go, I want to understand, I want to know what's happening to my money and when, and I want to know why I'm going to enter the market now as opposed to any other time. And that's all I do. I think that I wouldn't. I'm not better than anyone else. I've just done it for a very long time. That allows me access to understanding and feel for the markets that don't exist anywhere else. And again, within banks, when you're taking instruction or guidance from a bank. The individuals themselves don't have the background that I do, and that's just a fact. It's not kind of like a flex. It's just a reality, and I left that world of the corporate world to be able to provide a very consultative service to people that want that kind of input. It's not for everyone. Completely understand. I don't sell it, i.e., it's not something that's I think my industry is very pushy, and it can be. All financial services are very pushy, and it's about creating something that's available to people if they want to use it. If they don't, that's cool too.
Mhm. Now, you had mentioned about walking people back from the edge, and you'd
Yeah.
said because currencies, like you said, fluctuate. So somebody may send money one day or even wondering, should I send it today? Should I wait till tomorrow?
Mhm.
Is the market going up? Is it going down?
For
Have,
sure.
you know, when that happens to people and they may lose a fair amount of money if they pick the wrong day, how do you handle that situation?
I love that question. And I think that the answer in that question comes from when you're dealing, whoever you're dealing with, it's going to help you manage this transaction. It's about being willing to stand on the guidance that you've given. What I mean by that is the absolute best advice available to anybody in the world on this transaction is at best a very, very, very educated guess. That's how markets move, right? That's what speculation stems from. But what I want people to understand is that foreign exchange markets may seem chaotic and noisy, but they're actually not. They're very linear. They trade in very clear cycles and patterns. The only things that stop markets doing that are events and data that we can't predict that will shift the market. COVID, in my world, Brexit, um, conflict, all these things that come from nowhere. We call them black swan events. Um, we have to disregard black swan because we can't predict it. That's why they're called that. But what we can do is we can look at and understand the momentum and the direction of the market. Markets only do three things: up, down, or sideways. That's all they can do. And we just have to ascertain where the market is at any given time, look at the time frame that the client has to that they're facing, and then we strategize around that. Again, very rarely do clients of mine that are moving a significant amount of money move it in one hit. They'll do it in one, two, three, or several transactions to create a smoother entry to the market because it's not about winning and losing. It's about using all the information we have to make the best decisions possible. And that's where I believe I stand out is the quality of information people have access to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So this is a question that I've asked everyone on this summit. What is one actionable step that a person can take today, and in your situation, your services, to reclaim control of their finances?
I think we have become globally a society of seeking, feeling like we must seek advice in order to get the best outcome. But in actuality, especially when it comes to finance, my biggest belief after 16, 17 years of being in financial services and in financial markets, they're not complicated. That financial services want people to think they're complicated so that they can, like shrouding a service in confusion makes it easier to extract revenue, I guess, perhaps. Um, but none of this is complicated. And actually, if you just I always push people to take an interest in how the markets are trading, how they're working, especially during a transaction process, so that they can understand. I guess it's like gaining a really solid understanding of markets isn't a lot of work. And when you do have that, you kind of take back control of the situation, whether it's a mortgage, an investment in stocks and shares, whether it's foreign exchange, whether it's insurance, commodities, whatever, crypto, dare I say that word, none of it's complicated. And I think that we're led to believe it is. There's a lot of information available now by social media, by the internet. Very, very good people talking about markets in a sensible manner. I try to add my bit to that. And I think the biggest piece of advice I can give people is don't look at financial markets as complicated. Take it, a little bit by bit. Where you don't understand something, ask. Get to a level of understanding that's you're comfortable with, and understand that there is nothing in financial markets I couldn't teach and help anybody understand, because it's not complicated.
Yeah.
So let's take away the fear, right? It shouldn't be feared. It's if you're moving internationally, it's a necessary FX, especially is a necessary evil. It's something we have to accept. We have to enter this market to move our money from one currency to another. So looking for the top or the bottom or wherever it may be is a bit of a fool's errand. We've got to just make sure we understand, so we know that when we execute, we've done everything we can. 51% of a decision, make it, don't look back, but make sure somebody's there giving you the information you need.
Okay, great. Well, as we wrap up this interview, Dave, is there something that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
My mind's gone completely blank, and I know it's one of those things that when I come off the call, I'm going to remember like 50 things. I think that the thing that I want everybody to, and this goes for any financial service, doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're comfortable, make sure that you're comfortable with the agenda of the provider. What I mean by that is, every single provider of any service in any asset class, any sector, anything, their sole objective should be the best outcome for you as the client, not how much money can I make. Unfortunately, we live in a world where the latter is probably more prevalent, and I'm not going to shine my own halo and say that I do this for free. I don't. It's how I make my living. But what I definitely know now from coming away from a corporate environment is when you do a good job for people with 100% their best interests first, they tell someone else and you get another client. That's it. That's my big secret to what I do differently to my industry. Unfortunately, most industries are very short-termist. So it's always to say what I'm being told, what information I'm being given about markets, guidance, information, advice, whatever. Is that advice truly for my benefit? Or is it just given to me to get me to do something? Does that make sense?
It does. Yes, I think that's very good. Thank you. So where could people find out more about you, Dave, and Lucid Foreign Exchange?
For sure. LucidForeignExchange.com is my website. You can find all my social media there. My Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, I put content, all of them, LinkedIn as well. It's my personal LinkedIn. You'll get plenty of content on me and plenty of visibility on me. And the reason I create that content is for the fact that I am handling people's money. I'm not holding it personally, but I'm still involved in handling it. And it's a big deal. I take it very, very seriously. So I guess, want people to have different views of me. TikTok, for example, is markets as a whole. YouTube is very much around how to move money internationally, the things you might face, the issues you might face. Instagram is a bit more day to day, but it's to show that I have a view on things. I am a real human. And I think that's a better way than to send people that PDF or whatever, right? We all get asked, can you send me some information? But I'm like, look, have a look at if you can face it, take some time and look at my social media, my website, etc. And for sure, any questions, just reach out and ask. It's all the phone number on my website, you can WhatsApp. So I pick that up 24/7, all around the clock.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate your insights and sharing your knowledge with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.